Good afternoon. This is a NewsLink Indiana special report. I'm Tanner Holbrook. Well, it's been 1 year since Paul Ferguson resigned as Ball State University's president, and today the university's Board of Trustees is set to announce a permanent replacement. The announcement is expected at 1:30 this afternoon. The months following Paul Ferguson's departure have certainly been eventful, to say the least, and NewsLink Indiana's Tony Sandlaben breaks down just exactly how we got here.
It's been 364 days since former Ball State president Paul Ferguson shocked the university and suddenly resigned. What followed were months of distrust and accusations between the Board of Trustees and the Ball State community.
We have reason to believe that the former President Ferguson may have been terminated without cause.
At the first board meeting following Ferguson's departure, students and faculty were looking for answers. However, due to a non-disclosure agreement signed by both Ferguson and the board, Chairman Rick Hall could not say much.
This was a voluntary decision. This was a resignation.
The distrust of the board reached a critical point in March when a group of faculty members met to discuss the idea of a vote of no confidence in the Board of Trustees. However, a meeting between a number of those faculty members and members of the board seemed to ease those tensions. The next month, major steps were taken to begin searching for a new president, including creating a search committee and hiring a search firm. A resolution was also agreed to by both the Board of Trustees and the University Senate, pledging that both groups would continue to work together for the betterment of Ball State's future. The newfound unity led to open forums where community members and Ball State students and staff could tell the search committee directly what they wanted in a new president. And after a 9-month search, Ball State is set to announce its new leader. In Muncie, Tony Sandlaben, NewsLink Indiana.
All right, joining us at the desk is NewsLink reporter Tony Sandlaben. Good afternoon, Tony.
Tanner, good afternoon. Good to be here.
Now, I want to start with this. Ferguson's resignation, that's kind of seemed a little shady to the Ball State community. Tell me about the tension that the board and the Ball State community had after that.
Well, a lot of the tension really came from just kind of inexperience on both ends.
Sure.
You know, a lot of the students, especially here at Ball State, had never experienced a presidential change at that level of the university. A lot of people that are seniors now were freshmen when former President Joe Angora retired. This resignation was very sudden. And the board also had to deal with a lot of extra media attention, extra attention from the student body that they weren't exactly used to. One board member told me that this was kind of a learning experience from both sides because there wasn't much interest in board activities leading up to Paul Ferguson's resignation. After it occurred with seemingly no explanation, suddenly everybody really wanted to know what was going on. And so the board hadn't experienced that kind of attention before. Students and faculty hadn't been interested like this before. And so there was a real steep learning curve trying to figure out how to make a good balance and how to make both sides happy.
Now, do you feel as if the student body was and the faculty were blindsided by the sudden resignation of Paul Ferguson?
It's probably fair to say that, in the sense that there seemed to be nothing leading up to it. There seemed to be no warning coming up to it. It did certainly come out of nowhere from a media perspective, but that also kind of dealt with how people had to fix this and how people had to handle this. There was a crisis team that was hired for when the announcement was finally made, and one board member told me simply because they knew that people were not going to be comfortable with the idea. They knew that this was going to be people were going to be very skeptical of what was actually going on, and so that crisis team was brought in for about a day or two to try to handle the immediate onslaught of immediate attention and that sort of thing. And so to say that people were blindsided by it certainly, I think, could be inaccurate.
Now, do you think this blindside, do you think that hurt the trust between faculty members, student body members, between the two groups?
I think it certainly did for a time. There was a lot of, like we saw in the video just then, that people were wondering, well, was he terminated without cause? There were so many rumors going around about what actually was the reason for him leaving. A lot of different speculation, and nothing was really said. What complicated things was that non-disclosure agreement signed by both Paul Ferguson and the Board of Trustees.
Something very sketchy that students caught on to very early.
Certainly, yes. But another thing to show how people hadn't experienced this before, that's actually pretty standard procedure when a university president resigns to move on to something else. What I was told was that because it's such a competitive field to get into being a university president, both sides try to agree to not say anything about what happened so that nobody is at a disadvantage, both the former president going on to find another job and the university trying to find a replacement, with both sides keeping silent, if you will, on what the actual issues were, that was able to keep things away from possibly putting either side at a disadvantage from trying to move on.
All right, well, Tony, thank you for that. Happening now on campus, students are crowding into Sursa Hall as they await the announcement of the new Ball State president. NewsLink Indiana's Jenna Liston is there right now. Jenna, what can you tell us?
Thank you, guys. We are here now at Sursa Hall waiting to hear the presidential announcement for Ball State University. Here, as you can see behind me, the crowd looks very large, and there are a lot of people here waiting to hear this announcement. It has been about 11 months since we've heard, since President Paul Ferguson left us last year, and this year we will be now transitioning to hear the new president as well. And Ball State spokesperson Joan Todd has told the Star Press the transition committee has yet to be formed, but soon will be. And as we are here live at the event, we will be continuing to keep you updated with more information as it unfolds and moments away until the president is announced. Live at Sursa Hall, Jenna Liston, NewsLink, Indiana.
All right, thank you, Jenna. Now, Tony, so we're getting ready to find out the new Ball State president. Tell me, what do you think we can expect for today?
Well, one thing we can expect is certainly a lot of analysis coming from just about everybody. You know, those public forums really brought out a lot of interest because people wanted to take the chance to say what they wanted to say and also give their input on what they wanted in a new president. And so what I gathered mostly were two major things from those public forums. One was they wanted somebody with a background in academics. Obviously, the president's going to be a business mind. They're running a university that includes a lot of handling of money and things of that nature. But also they wanted somebody who will put the students and professors high on their priority list so that the educational environment can still remain strong here at Ball State. The other thing was being more interactive. One thing that people seem to have was kind of a knock on former President Ferguson was that he didn't interact with the student body as much as people would have liked to.
Nor did he really have time to.
Exactly. So, but that is one thing that people do want to see change is they want to see the president be more active, be more, make more appearances at student organizations, student events, and have more of an appearance than just say the state of the university or David Letterman coming back to the university or something like that.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are going to go live to Sursa Hall where the Board of Trustees meeting is about to begin. We'll be doing that in just a few moments. But I want to still stay on this. Ferguson was only here for how many days? Around 124, 20-some days?
He was here, yeah, not very long.
And do you think people would be expecting this new president to stick around?
Well, I would certainly hope so. One thing that had a lot of people nervous when this first happened was continuity at the highest level here at Ball State. Because not only did former President Ferguson resign out of nowhere, we also saw two board members submit their resignations just prior to that, and then another board member had their term run up and they decided not to return. So we have new board members, we're going to have a new president, new leadership coming into this calendar year and also to the future. We haven't seen that kind of continuity in the last year. You figure Joanne Gora was here for 10 years before she retired. Ferguson was only here for barely a year and then he resigned out of nowhere. And so one thing that people are really craving above all else is certainly continuity at the highest level.
Yeah, so Ferguson, like we said, he was only here for just a short amount of time. Joanne Gora, as you said, here for about 10 years. Yeah, I think you're right. People are looking forward to that continuity of, our leadership in Ball State's administration.
And one thing that will be very interesting to see is how, if any of former President Ferguson's initiatives are going to continue with this new president.
Such as the entrepreneurial learning,
things of that nature. And so there was an agreement signed, that resolution that I mentioned before between the University Senate and the Board of Trustees to make an effort to continue those initiatives, at least until a replacement could be found. A lot of those initiatives were very popular among the faculty, among the students. So it might be interesting to see. Maybe this next president will continue them. Maybe they will have their own plan and it'll be similar along the way. Or they might go in a totally different direction. That's the big unknown that people are very anxious to see, as I'm sure Sursa Hall is certainly getting filled up.
Speaking of Sursa Hall, we're going to go right now to a crowd shot. You're looking live at Sursa Hall. As you can tell, a packed room there awaiting the board's announcement of our new president, which will be the 16th president of Ball State University. we're gonna go ahead and cut to that right now so we can listen in on that announcement.
Good afternoon. We have a full house today. That's great. I'm Kathy Wolf, Vice President for Marketing and Communications for Ball State University. Thank you so much for coming today, and thank you to those of you who are watching online. We are live on Facebook, YouTube, and streaming on our website as well. If you could please take a minute and silence your cell phones, we'd sure appreciate that so that everyone can enjoy the day. So thank you again for coming. We're delighted that you could join us. And here's the procedure for this historic event. Board Chair Rick Hall will speak briefly. He will convene the Board of Trustees public meeting to elect the 17th president of Ball State University. We will then introduce you to our incoming president. After the introduction and remarks today, members of the media will have an opportunity to ask questions of our appointed president. We will ask that you raise your hand, and we will send our representative, Mark Ransford, to you with the microphone. Please wait until Mark is with you with the microphone to ask your question. We want everyone watching live to be able to hear you. Please state your name first and the news organization you represent, followed by your question. After today's event, everyone is invited to a reception in the lobby to meet our appointed president. This is a public reception and an opportunity for everyone to say hello. So without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce somebody who consistently goes the extra mile for Ball State University, Rick Hall. Rick is chair of the Ball State University Board of Trustees and a longtime supporter of the university. Chair Hall is a 1989 graduate from the Miller College of Business, and we're very grateful for his leadership. Please join me in welcoming Chair Hall.
Thank you, Kathy, for that warm introduction, and thank all of you for being here today on what is such an important day for Ball State University. I'm officially calling this meeting of the Board of Trustees to order. I'm delighted to be joined here today by my fellow trustees that are either on the phone or seated behind me. Behind me are trustees Renee Conley, Tom Bracken, Matt Mopper, Mike McDaniel, and our student representative, Dustin Meeks. And then also on the phone today, we have trustee Wayne Estopinol. Wayne, are you there?
Yes, Rick, I'm on the line. Thank you.
Thanks, Wayne. Also on our board are Brian Gallagher and Jean Ann Harcourt, who had previous commitments that prevented them from being here today, but they did want me to share that they have full support for the actions that are going to take place today and our new president that you will soon hear from. The long-anticipated day is finally here. The day we are excited to announce the next president of Ball State University. The turnout here is amazing, but not surprising. Our university was founded as a result of the philanthropy of the Ball brothers and continues to thrive because of the generous efforts of so many. As a result, the new president inherits a strong Ball State, a university that is well-positioned for growth and further distinction. The impact of the efforts of those in the Ball State community are no more apparent than during the past year. The university opened its new College of Health and continued to enhance the national reputation of so many of its programs. And while those accolades are meaningful, what our alumni truly value most is the student-faculty connection they experienced while on campus. That personal interaction cannot occur without the incredible individual efforts of our faculty. The next president inherits a faculty that is unequaled in its talents and commitment to our students. At the same time, the university is financially strong, with its lowest tuition increase in nearly 40 years. Not surprisingly, this focus on our students and fiscal responsibility has resulted in increased enrollment. The appetite for a Ball State education has never been stronger. On behalf of the board, I express deep gratitude to Interim President Terry King for his strong leadership. Interim President King graciously agreed to take the helm of this great institution when asked, and he has maintained our momentum. Will you please join me in showing your appreciation for Interim President Terry King. Also of tremendous importance during this past year has been the outstanding efforts of our cabinet. I'd like every member of the cabinet to please stand and also be recognized for their contributions this past year. Cabinet. We also want to thank our deans, our faculty, and staff for continuing to shepherd our students, blessing them with your time, talents, and dedication. We appreciate our exceptional alumni, donors, and friends for their faithful support throughout the search process. We want to recognize in particular the efforts of Tony Smith and Mark Irvin and all of those at the Ball State University Foundation. The university could not have a better partner who has continued to raise funds at an impressive rate through this time of transition, all to the benefit of our students and our faculty. Finally, we'd like to thank our outstanding students who are at the heart of our institution. Together, you've made Ball State University a very special place. All this said, higher education is evolving rapidly, and this is no time to rest on our laurels. The challenges that Ball State will face over the next decade are significant. However, the opportunities presented to us are even greater. In a moment, you will meet a leader that possesses the experience, the skills, the character necessary to maximize these opportunities, to lead us in the development of the next strategic plan, to create more reasons of pride as we approach our centennial celebration, and to make our second century even more impactful to our students, alumni, and the state of Indiana. Thank you all for putting us in a position to attract such a strong leader. The decision on the next leader was made based on tremendous input from the Ball State community. We appreciate you emailing, calling, and coming out to our 7 community forums and sharing your thoughts on what qualities we should seek in Ball State's next president. Your perspective had a real impact on the type of candidates that we sought and ultimately who we chose. It is clear that the entire university community cares deeply about this decision. Now, in particular, I want to thank the search committee for its dedication and the many, many hours invested over the last several months in this important milestone. The committee has representation from the entire university, the Delaware County community, and beyond. When I call your name, I'd like to ask the committee members to stand and be recognized. Dr. Charlene Alexander, who is a faculty representative. Dr. Kay Bales, a cabinet representative. Andy Bean, a faculty representative. Dr. Jennifer Bott, a dean representative. Tom Bracken, a trustee. Renee Conley, a trustee. Also, he couldn't be here today. He's out dedicating even more of his time to Ball State in Florida, is Mark Irvin, who was a community representative. We have Sally Falling, who is a cabinet representative. Hank Gerhardt from the staff. Amy Harden, Also from the faculty, Jeff Kingsbury representing the alumni, Shree O'Neill representing the foundation, Jerry Reynolds, our service representative, and James Wells, our student representative. Let's have a round of applause for their efforts. Thank you all again. Most importantly, I also want to recognize Anita Kelsey, who staffed the search committee and did a fantastic job keeping us on track over the last 10 months. Let's have a round of applause for Anita. This incredible effort was led by my fellow trustee, Matt Mopper. He's a Ball State alum who cares deeply about this institution, and he has led this committee with the same passion and energy he routinely invests in everything he does on our behalf. So please welcome to the podium the trustee, Matt Mopper, who served as search committee chair. Thank you.
Rick, we owe you a big thank you for everything that you've done. Let's give Rick a round of applause. Thank you for your kind words of welcome, and I also want to thank the outstanding committee for bringing this historic search to a successful outcome. Our detailed search was thorough and typical length for a national enterprise of this scope. As Rick mentioned, the committee held a series of public forums and received feedback regarding the aspirations for our institution and the desired qualities of our next president. The committee then worked diligently through the process, advancing forward a strong, diverse pool of candidates. I think today you will agree we found the best of the best. Jeff Mearns. Jeff Mearns comes to Ball State after more than 4 years serving as the president of Northern Kentucky University. There he led an advocacy campaign to garner additional state support for the university in an effort to address historic funding disparity. The multi-year educational efforts resulted in an additional $5.1 million in funding for the university. Additionally, Jeff secured the largest single capital investment in Northern Kentucky's history, a $97 million appropriation from the state for the institution's Health Innovation Center. Those funds were bolstered by an additional $8 million of private gift that Jeff secured from a large hospital system in the region. Jeff's championed the student success and campus inclusivity, which will be important to Ball State University as we move forward. Jeff's focus on student first is essential to our success and is a shared value by all within Ball State University. From our perspective, Jeff is the total package. He eloquently articulates a strong vision that ensures all members of the Ball State community will have meaningful roles in shaping Ball State's future through our long-range strategic planning process. He wants us all to have every opportunity to enjoy the success that comes when we all work toward one goal. Before his role at Northern Kentucky, Jeff served as the provost at Cleveland State University. He also spent 17 years as an attorney, including serving as special attorney for the United States Attorney General in the prosecution of the Oklahoma City bombing accomplice, Terry Nichols. He joined the Cleveland Marshall College at Law at Cleveland State University in 2005 as the dean of the college and a professor of law. Jeff earned his JV from the University of Virginia and was named the law school's Order of Coif, reserved for those students of exemplary academic achievement. He earned his undergraduate degree in English from Yale. We are pleased to have a presidential candidate who has all the remarkable qualifications we outlined. Jeff Mearns has exhibited visionary leadership in higher education. Chair Hall, it's time. I move that Jeff Mearns be appointed as the president of Ball State University and that his contract with the university in the form presented to the board be approved.
Thank you, Trustee Mopper. There's a motion on the floor. Can I get a second?
I second.
Motion's been made and seconded. I'll have a roll call vote. Trustee Conley?
Aye.
Trustee Bracken?
Aye.
Trustee Mopper?
Aye.
Trustee McDaniel?
Aye.
Trustee Meeks?
Aye.
Trustee Estopino?
Aye.
Well, let's make it unanimous. I vote aye as well. The motion is approved. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Move for adjournment.
It's been moved. Can I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of adjourning the meeting?
Aye.
Now is the moment you've all been waiting for. It's my great pleasure to introduce to you the 17th president of Ball State University, Jeff Mearns.
Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for that very kind welcome. It is truly an honor. It is an honor for me and my family to be selected as the 17th president of Ball State University. Mr. Momper, I want to thank you, and thank you for that very generous introduction, and I want to thank you and the other members of the search committee. Thank you for giving me this opportunity, this special opportunity. I know from experience that you worked hard and you have represented your university colleagues well and your community partners very well. And Mr. Hall, I want to thank you and all of the other members of the Board of Trustees for giving me the privilege of serving this outstanding university. I look forward to working closely and collaboratively with you and all of the members of the university community to secure a bright and a bold future for Ball State. During the search process, it became clear to me, very clear to me, that all of you are proud, indeed very proud of this university. The faculty are rightly proud of the quality education that they provide to the students, and they're proud of the impactful research that they contribute to their communities and to our world. This institution is widely respected for its innovative, nationally ranked programs, and Ball State's distinguished faculty are admired for their dedication to their students and to academic excellence. The staff are also rightly proud of the services they provide to the students and to their faculty and staff colleagues. Your staff has also built and maintained excellent facilities like this hall, as well as the beautiful grounds all across campus. Their support and their commitment are vital to the success of this academic enterprise. And we know, and I've come to know, that Ball State has talented and resourceful students. They arrive on this campus with untapped potential, but with ambitious aspirations. The educational experiences that they receive here enables them to reach their full potential and to achieve those ambitions. And when they depart, when they graduate, Ball State graduates become leaders in their professions and in their communities. They use the knowledge and the skills that they have obtained at Ball State to seize today's opportunities and to prepare for tomorrow's challenges. Though they may ultimately travel to distant places, your alumni, as I have learned, they remain engaged with the university in many important ways, and they provide outstanding philanthropic support for the next generation of entrepreneurial learners. As a result of the efforts of so many people, Ball State is now recognized all across the state of Indiana and in the State House here in Indiana for its role in enhancing economic development and in promoting civic and cultural vitality. And that recognition is spreading from coast to coast and from continent to continent. Over the next few months, as I prepare to transition to Ball State, I look forward to meeting so many more of you, the faculty, the staff, the students, the alumni, community leaders, and elected officials. I need to learn much more about your university, and I need to learn more about you. And so when we meet, I will ask you two simple questions. What do you think I need to know about your university and this community? And secondly, what do I need to know about you? And that's because I believe that before I can lead, I must learn and I must listen. And before I can assist you in developing a plan to build on the successes you have achieved over the past century, we must assess together the progress that you have made in achieving the goals that you have already set for the university. So when we meet, I hope that you will also ask me some questions too. But I want to take this opportunity today, this afternoon, to anticipate one question. Why Ball State for me? Well, I briefly alluded to many of the reasons a moment ago. Innovative academic programs, excellent, talented faculty, dedicated staff, devoted leadership all across the campus, bright, ambitious students, and generous alumni, outstanding facilities, a beautiful campus, and elected officials who are providing increasing financial support for this university in recognition of your successes. These are all important factors, but I was drawn to Ball State as a result of another more distinctive attribute. This public university proudly proclaims its commitment to certain enduring values. Beneficence, the iconic statue, symbolizes the generosity of the Ball brothers, who, as you know, their initial donation of land created the foundation for this institution. That statue also symbolizes the sustained generosity of their descendants, generosity that has enabled your university to grow and to thrive. This statue is an enduring symbol of the value of gratitude. It is in that spirit that I express my gratitude to my colleagues and to my friends at Northern Kentucky University. Working together, as you heard a moment ago, we improved student outcomes and we persuaded the General Assembly to provide additional state funding, deserved state funding for NKU. As they know, as I often say, and I truly believe, something special is happening at NKU, and I will always be proud and very grateful to have been a part of it. So my gratitude and my thanks to them. To my wife, Jennifer, we've been partners for many years. We don't know many of these people, so we're not going to acknowledge how many years it has been. But throughout this wonderful journey, in good times and in bad, you've been my strength. Thank you. To my son, he traveled all the way from Charlottesville, Virginia yesterday to be here, to represent his 4 bright and beautiful sisters. Thank you. I'm proud of you, son. And I love you too. This university's values are also articulated in the Beneficent Pledge. Academic excellence in teaching, learning, and scholarship. Honesty and integrity in order to earn and maintain trust and respect. Social responsibility through civility, courtesy, and compassion. Inclusion, valuing the intrinsic worth of all people, and learning from their different experiences and from their different ideas. I was drawn to this university because those values are the ones that were instilled in me by my parents. In 1951, my father graduated from college. He was the first person in our family to earn a college degree. The education that he received changed his life, and it changed the trajectory of our entire family. That is why I believe in the transformative power of education. A few years later, after he graduated from law school, my father devoted his entire career to higher education. For 40 years as a law professor and as a university administrator, he was committed to excellence in teaching, scholarship, and in service to the institution and in service to the community. My mother, after raising 9 children, that's right, I'm one of 9 kids. But my mother, after she raised 9 children, she wasn't done. She then dedicated her time to public service. She was on city council for 10 years, and she was the first woman to be elected as the mayor of Shaker Heights, Ohio. By their example, I learned the value of academic excellence and the value of servant leadership. My parents taught all of us, through example, my parents taught all of us to treat everyone with courtesy and with respect. They embodied the values of integrity, civility, and humility. Both of my parents died a few years ago, but today, in their memory, I pledge to all of you that I will embrace these values, your values, as the 17th president of Ball State University. Thank you very much for this honor. Thank you very much.
In case you haven't heard, we are a community known for the way we welcome people. So, okay, we will now begin our question and answer session. So for members of the media that have a question, please stand up and again give us your name and the news media organization that you represent, and we will answer your questions. We'll start here.
Daily News. How do you plan to increase transparency at the university, especially after our last president left just after a year and a half in office?
So am I supposed to repeat? The question is what is my view about being transparent in my service as president of the university? I believe transparency is critically important. I talked about the value of promoting civility and courtesy. I think as part of somebody who plays a role in a shared responsibility for the administration of the university, and I believe that one of the things that is special about a university community is that all of us share responsibility for the commitment to the mission of the university, and in order to encourage people to participate collaboratively and cooperatively, there is the need to be transparent.
Next.
Hi, I'm Seth from the Star Press. Can you tell me when you will start working, and have you signed a contract, and do you have a game plan for the first 100 days or so?
Yeah. So yes, we have. The question was, when will I begin, and have I signed a contract? Yes, I'm delighted to say I have. My contract at Northern Kentucky University extends through July 31st, and my contract begins here at Ball State no later than August 1st of this summer. But I'm working collaboratively with the Board of Trustees here, as well as the Board of Regents at Northern Kentucky University to embark on a smooth transition between those two institutions. So I think both boards will at some point come to a joint conclusion about when I might begin my transition here to Ball State. And then, the question was, what in my first 100, I think the other question was, what do I have a plan for the first 100 days? Well, you heard a little bit about the plan here just a moment ago. I need to spend a good time on campus, traveling campus in both formal and informal ways, meeting with students, meeting with faculty, meeting with staff, meeting with community leaders. So my principal agenda, my principal task during that transition and in the early stages of my responsibility is to do a lot of learning and listening. And then I understand that there's some urgency, or at least eagerness, to begin the process of developing the next strategic plan for the university. So I would anticipate during that period of time we would work together to establish a committee and a process for developing that new strategic plan.
Here.
Stephanie Weekman with Indiana Public Radio. You're coming to a city that was a former manufacturing hub that's gone through some hard times, and now Ball State is one of the biggest employers in the state, or in the city and the county. What's the appropriate level of community engagement for a university like this?
I think the question is, what is the appropriate level of community engagement for an institution like Ball State? I've had the good fortune of serving 2 other public universities, in Cleveland State and Northern Kentucky University. At both of those institutions, there was a commitment to civic engagement. And I believe that that's an important attribute, an important commitment here for those of us at Ball State. I think as I've learned about the institution and the community, it's clear to me that it was the community who made the contributions to build this great university. And I think now it is our obligation, our turn, to do even more to support the city and the county and the region here in Indiana.
Other questions? Go ahead.
The question was, have I appointed a provost? Yes, I hired a provost at Northern Kentucky University, and also I served as the provost both in an interim basis and for a couple of years as the provost at Cleveland State University, and understand the importance of that position.
And we'll take a couple more questions here in the back. Go ahead.
I'm Bree Eisman from NewsLink, Indiana. So why someone from your of your stature and experience is receiving so much help? Why do you think that is?
I'm sorry, I missed the last part of your question.
Why is someone of your stature and experience receiving so much help and assistance?
She's asking why someone of your stature is receiving assistance. Are you talking, what is assistance?
Like executive assistance.
Say it again?
Executive assistance.
Executive assistance. I think she's talking about maybe our onboarding firm that...
Sure. I'd be happy to respond to that since it was the board's decision. Transitioning someone into an enterprise is diverse and as complex as Ball State University is a big endeavor. And we've had a period here where we've continued our momentum under Dr. King, but we want to accelerate Jeff's onboarding into the institution as quickly as possible, because there's so many great opportunities that are presented to the university. We feel that it's very important to get whatever additional tools are necessary to make his transition as easy and as impactful as possible.
Any other questions? Okay. One more. I'm sorry, there's one more in the back, too. Go ahead.
So the question was my perspective. I mentioned the element of inclusion in the beneficence pledge. That is a personal commitment that I feel strongly about. I think for a public institution like Ball State University that provides accessible educational opportunities for all students, it needs to certainly do that in terms of its commitment to recruiting students, and also to provide the best academic experience, I believe, and learning experience. We know that this is an increasingly interconnected world, and in order for our students to be prepared to meet those challenges and to be successful in that dynamic environment, they need to meet and understand people with different perspectives and different experiences. So I look forward to working closely with the faculty and staff to understand what efforts have already been undertaken here on your campus and ways in which we can make those efforts even more effective.
Back in the back, one more.
Hi, my name is Vivian Edwards. I am a chemistry major here at Ball State, and there has been a serious lack of transparency at the university. There was an article recently released stating that the university can delete emails that would otherwise be public record. And I would say the general attitude of many of the faculty on campus is that they feel that shared governance, in a sense, has been violated since there's been a centralization of the power of the administration underneath Gora, and then President Ferguson really was a faculty favorite. How do you plan not only to protect transparency, but shared governance here at Ball State?
Okay, so what I would say is go back. First of all, I always use the phrase shared responsibility, because I believe that second word, responsibility, is critical to our respective obligations. We all have a responsibility to that institution, to the institution, irrespective of our position. Doesn't matter whether you're on the board, you're serving in the administration, or your students, faculty, or staff. We all have a collective shared responsibility to the commitment to the mission. And so that's how I will act. I can't speak to issues that you've raised, because of course I'm not familiar with them. But I think if you speak to the students and the faculty and staff at Northern Kentucky University or Cleveland State University, or the colleagues who've worked with me in other areas, you will find that I'm accessible to all members of the university community. I look forward to not only greeting students and others and faculty and staff in my office, but you'll see that I'm very visible on campus as well, because I believe that transparency is not just what you might communicate by way of a memo or an email, but it's in those informal conversations as well.
Thank you. Okay, and now, everybody's favorite cardinal is here to officially welcome our 17th president for Ball State University, Charlie.
All right, as you just heard, it has been announced that Jeffrey Mearns will be the new president of Ball State University.
That's right, Tanner. And now that we now know who our president is, let's turn to NewsLink Indiana reporter Max Lewis for some information on Mearns. Max?
All right, yeah, guys, thanks. Well, yeah, Jeffrey Mearns is going to be the 17th president of Ball State University. In that little intro that they gave, they did mention a few facts about him. I'll just, if you're just joining us, I can repeat some of those. He is from Northern Kentucky University. He is the president there and has been the president there since 2012. He was joined here today by his wife, Jennifer Mearns, and one of his children, which is Jeffrey Jr. His other 4 children could not make it today. Just a little background information on him. He earned his bachelor's degree in English from Yale. He got his JD from the University of Virginia, and he practiced law for 15 years. He was a federal prosecutor. He worked on the Oklahoma City bombing case back in 1995. So he's been in law, and that is kind of his major field. He was a professor and dean at the Cleveland Marshall College of Law. And, so he was a professor of law there. He then went to Northern Kentucky University, where he is now. And he said a couple of interesting things in that speech there. So we're going to see where he goes from there. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. He talked a lot about, he got a lot of questions about transparency, which has been a big issue with the university administration in the past. Yeah, let's go ahead and jump into this. Transparency, he said, he didn't really give us much.
Well, and I feel like he's probably going to be walking a fine line with the transparency issue, because it comes down to, again, that non-disclosure agreement that was signed between former President Ferguson and the Board of Trustees. And so obviously people want to know what happened with that, and both sides are contractually obligated to not say anything. So I think what President Mearns was trying to do by kind of giving the answer that he did was not trying to say, well, yes, I want to be more transparent, or he was trying to say, yes, I want to be more transparent, but I can't go into what happened before I got here.
He did call it a critical part, I wrote down here. So, you know, that could be more, you know, maybe that's more important because it's such a, you know, public issue, and, you know, there's still a lot unknown about President Ferguson's departure. So he did call it a critical part, though, so that could be a change we see in the shift.
Yeah, let's talk about the presence of Ferguson on campus before his departure. Not a lot of people saw him around. He was kind of, you know, not around on campus events, stuff like that. In the first 100 days, he said in his speech, or one of the questions he got was, you know, are you going to be around on campus? And it really seems like he wants to make that effort.
Well, and the interesting thing is that there's obviously going to be a lot of comparisons between former President Ferguson and now current President Mearns. And one thing that I noticed is that along those lines, he does seem very interested, Mearns does, in getting more involved in student affairs, making more of a presence on campus, things of that nature. But a big thing that I took away from this speech was simply his charisma. That was one thing that so many people loved about Paul Ferguson, was that he was a guy with personality. He could make people laugh in his speeches, and we saw numerous times, including where he brought up his son coming to all the way from, I think he said, what, North Carolina, South Carolina, all the way from,
somewhere down south.
But good to see, though, that there's going to be some personality involved with the president's office. Now it's going to come down to, you know, can he work with the Board of Trustees?
Which has been a criticism of our administration for you know, the last year or so.
You know, he is 52 years old. That is, that's a pretty young age, especially for a university president. I mean, it's not super young, but at the same time, and he seems very, he does seem very personable. He's kind of, you know, kind of in the know. He had fist bumped Charlie Cardinal, if you saw there, gave him a high five. So, you know, he seems like he'll be able to connect well with students and just faculty. He seems like an all-around personable guy.
Yep. All right, Max, we're going to have to leave it there. We're going to go to Jenna Liston, who is still live there at Sturza Hall. Jenna, how are you doing? And
do I need a microphone or anything?
All right, we'll get that interview in just a little bit. She's live at Sturza Hall. Let's go back to this. He talked about civic engagement, one of the bigger questions that he got. He came from Cleveland, went to the Cincinnati area, Muncie, you know, hard working town.
Now I think we actually are getting
ready.
We're
going to go back to Jenna.
Okay. Do you want me to look at you, or do you want me to look at him?
You can look at me. I'll just be having a conversation with you, no problem. Okay. Well, now we're here live at Sturza Hall after the presidential announcement. Our 17th president of Ball State University, Jeff Mearns. Congratulations on being selected.
Thank you so much. As I said, it's an honor for me. It's an honor for my family. We're delighted to be here.
So we are very thankful for you as well, too. I just had a couple quick questions for you as well. So you answered a few of the questions from the audience and the media as well about the transparency issue here at Ball State. That's a little bit of a questionable topic we've had over the past year of not having a president. Is there a few things you could touch on for us that you didn't touch on in the crowd as well?
Well, and as I said, I certainly believe and understand that in order to build trust across a diverse community like a university community, the
credibility is critical. And so I'm committed to communicating broadly and clearly. I believe in also trying to do what I think is right, and I also explain the rationale for my decisions. One of the most gratifying things that I heard from a faculty colleague of mine when I was at Cleveland State is they didn't necessarily always agree with what I did, but they understood I explained the rationale for it. So I will try as best as possible to explain the rationale for my decisions, and I think that will foster trust and credibility in me and my colleagues.
And you have had many prestigious titles as the provost and ex-president of Northern Kentucky, and you are basically what they said, the total package. So can you kind of describe what roles you'll take on with that title?
Well, one is I want to be accessible here on campus to students and faculty and staff. That is something that makes this job not just a job, but it makes it a joy. And all that I know about Ball State is that I'll continue to have great opportunities to serve closely with faculty staff on behalf of our students. Also, as a public university, it's critical for the president to be visible and proactive with the legislature. And also, we all understand that if we're going to continue to thrive as an institution, we have to continue to keep education affordable, keep constraints on tuition increases. We know that the state is supporting Ball State, but we also have to go more aggressively to our alumni and our friends to continue to raise philanthropic investments. We need to communicate, and I think I can do this well, on behalf of the university community, on behalf of our students, the value and the return on an investment in our students.
Thank you so much. Just a couple quick questions for you.
You're welcome.
Congratulations. It's
Thank
very
you very
nice
much.
meeting
I
you so
appreciate it.
much. We'll
Thank
let you
you.
get back to
Thank
other
you.
questions of the media
Thank you.
too. And as I said earlier, we are live here in Sursa Hall, and that was the new president of Ball State University. Just a couple things to touch on. Rick Hall said this is a long anticipated wait after 11 months of not having a president in office at Ball State University. And he thanked Kerry King, he thanked the cabinet and the board members for all their hard work throughout the year. But now we have successfully selected a president at Ball State here. Live in Sursa Hall, Jenna Liston, NewsLink, Indiana.
All right, Jenna, thank you. As she said, it's been a long time for this president. We've been waiting a while. Max, for those viewers, just let's go ahead and just run this guy down really quick.
So just a quick review. He is currently the president of Northern Kentucky University. He did mention that he has signed a contract with the university. He won't be here, though, until August, I think he said. His contract at Northern Kentucky doesn't end until July 31st. He has a business background, in education, business, and law. So he kind of has an all-around thing. He's experienced in the university, so he just knows a lot about that, and we'll see how he turns out.
And certainly good to see as well that education background as well as handling university affairs with funding and all of that. A big, big takeaway from those open forums. Good to see the board certainly.
And I like that quote that he said when he was just with Jenna, I want to be accessible. I think that's something that the students in the community here at Ball State are really looking forward to. Well, all right, guys. Thanks, Max, for joining us. That concludes this special edition of NewsLink Indiana. Be sure to watch us right here Monday night at 9 p.m. on Cardinal Vision.
And, of course, be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Have a good day.